This is precalc, lesson 0.3. We're going to talk about parabolas. Parabola is a fancy name for a, or not so fancy name, for a U-shape, right? It's a U-shape, but it's a quadratic. U-shape. It's U-shaped, it opens up, it opens down. Yeah? Has solutions sometimes if we set it equal to 0. All of those things. Basically, I put that in there so that you guys recognize that I might interchange the word parabola and quadratic. So, there are some things that you guys should already know about parabolas, quadratics, when making graphs. You guys should have started to graph these potentially in Algebra 1, definitely in Algebra 2, and potentially, again, back in geotrig. So, looking at that graph, if I asked you if it opens up or down, which way? The example 1 then. X equals 2x squared minus 8x plus 4. Is this opening up or down? Why are you saying down? What's negative? Is it negative what? Negative 8. Negative 8x. Because of the negative 8x, it opens down. Is this true?
No.
I hear a no.
It's opening up.
So it's opening up. I think I am going to agree with the opening up. But why?
Because the 2x is positive.
What is positive?
The 2x.
The 2x squared is positive. Better yet than saying the 2x squared is positive, what value is positive? What letter is usually associated with this? It's A. And A is the leading coefficient, which is on the leading term, the one with the highest exponent. It's 2. 2 is positive, it opens up. Also, just by looking at this, within a few seconds, could you tell me where the y-intercept is? It's 4. How did you figure that out, Jake?
It's always y equals mx plus b. The b is going to be the 4. The y. I don't know. It's just something that.
Okay. I'm going to stop you there. This is definitely not y equals mx plus b form. That's a line. But that still would be right. The b value of a line is the y-intercept. It's the same idea. But why is this one 4? Because he's right. It is 4. Or I like to say 0, 4 because the y-intercept's a point. But why? What do I put in for x? What is x always on a y-intercept? 0. So if I put 0 in for 2x squared, it's 0. If I put 0 in for 8x, or negative 8x, it's 0. And 0 plus 0 plus 4 is 4. So the y-intercept is 0, 4. You should be able to look at any quadratic, any parabola, and tell me those two things very quickly, efficiently, within a few seconds. Now, also associated with the idea of it opening up, you would also tell me that this graph will have a what? If it opens up, it looks like this. What does it have? Right there.
Vertex.
A vertex. That vertex, all of them have vertex. Vertices. There's a contract. That's not so unique. But what's so special about this one, without even knowing what it is? We would think on that graph it is...
There's only one.
There's only one. It is also the...
Axis of symmetry.
It's on the axis of symmetry. We'll get there.
Wow.
It's the bottom. It's also the lowest. It's a trough. Starts with an M.
That is a
Minimum value. If a parabola opens up, we know that it has a minimum value. If it opens down, it has a maximum value. Now, this particular question wants us to graph it using a table, which means I just need to put some x values in, get it some y values out, plot those points, and I am happy. The very first time that you would have graphed these back a couple years ago, or even graphing lines, we made t-charts, because that's pretty much the first thing we always do mathematically. Your teacher comes up to you and says, hey, look at this equation. We call it, whatever we're going to call it, and use these points, and let's take a look at what it looks like. Right? Kind of general idea. Every time you get something new. Your teacher always feeds you what points to put in. Well, hopefully by now you recognize that this vertex, which should be the center of your graph, does not always happen at 0, 0. Right? So if I was having a line, or graphing a line, we know it goes on forever in both directions. I can use any points I want. So a lot of the times, we went back and said, I'm going to use my Fab 5. My Fab 5, -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. Worked every time for a line. But then we get to quadratics, and that may not work. Because your center might be way over here. Your parabola is way to the left, or way to the right, or up really far, or down really far. So therefore, if I use my Fab 5, I would end up with some part of a quadratic. And if all I saw of a quadratic was that, you probably would think that's a line. But no, it's a quadratic. You just don't have the whole picture. Okay? So be very careful on what you use. So we needed to bring up this idea that there has to be some way to figure out where the center is. Someone already said it. The center of a parabola has an axis of symmetry. That is that dotted line that we put on the graph. Whoops. And that dotted line makes it so you can fold the graph in half. There's an equation for this. It's called the line of symmetry, axis of symmetry, sometimes. X equals, what is it? You guys should know it. Negative b over 2a. So the opposite of b over 2a. Yes, I changed it. I was told it's the negative b over 2a, which is right. But I will use the opposite of b over 2a. And the reason is that students at your level even think of, okay, if it says that it has to be negative b, that means it always has to be negative. That's not so. So make sure that if the number is already negative, you're taking the opposite. If it's positive, you make it negative. So I like to say opposite of b over 2. So we can use that now. We find the line of symmetry. Our vertex is actually on that. So what's b? It's -8. So opposite of -8 over 2 times 2. Notice I used what when doing this problem? Parentheses. I did this specifically for the reason of sometimes there's a negative number going in there. And you need to recognize that I'm not subtracting. I am multiplying a negative to a negative, which makes it positive 8 over 2, which is 4. Oh, sorry.
8 over 4.
My bad.
8 over 4.
It should be 8 over 4, which is 2. What do I do with that 2?
Plug it back in.
Plug it back into the equation. Why would I want to do that?
Just see if it matches and works equally.
Not because it matches, but because I need to find the y value associated with that. So I want to do f of 2. Function notation means I take out all the x's and put a 2. So I'm going to try to do this in my head. So in my head, I am thinking, what's 2 squared? Times 2? 8. So I'm going to write that down. I will not try to do this all in my head. I will put it in pieces. And negative 8 times 2. Negative 16 and add 4. So now it's 8 minus 16.
Negative 4.
What needs to be squared?
There's no days. Oh, no.
Nope. We already squared the 2, right? And so we get
Negative 4.
-4. What does this mean?
That's the y value.
That's the y value of the vertex. So I have the vertex at 2, -4. I'm not done. All of this is going to be done fairly quick. So what I need to do now is use that to my advantage. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to take this vertex and I am going to now put it into a t-chart, a table, because that's what it wants me to do. I need to do all of that work before I can even make a table. So the question is, where does this go in the t-chart? The center, because the vertex is in the center. So this is to -4. Now, why do we care that it's in the center? Why do we care that it has a line of symmetry? We care because now that I'm at the center, and I take a step to the left, and I take one step to the right, those two x values will have the same y values. They are exactly the same. So if I take a step each way in the directions, I will go and hit the graph in the exact same spot. Because it's symmetric. That is awesome. Because I'm going to pick values like 1, 0, 3, 4. All I have to do is half of the t-chart and copy it to the other side. Kind of like what you guys like to do. So, what's easier? 0, 1 or 3, 4? I think 0, 1. What's 0? Put 0 in. What do you get? You should get 4. We talked about that one already. So that means if I put a 4 in, I also get 4. If you don't believe me, do the work. Plug it in. Sometimes it's good to check yourself that way. What's easier, putting 1 in or putting 3?
1.
So what's 1 squared? Times 2.
2.
Minus 8 times, or what's 8? Negative 8 times 1. So negative 8 and plus 4.
Negative 4. Negative 2.
So it's negative 2. So that means that 3 should also be negative 2. I've now filled in the table, so now I just have to plot it, draw on the curve. Zero, 4, 4, 4. 1, negative 2, 3, negative 2, 2, negative 4. And there's your graph. So, I'm not going to list definitions, but we said, hey, the axis of symmetry. We already talked about that. We already talked about vertex. So therefore, it's put together here in this nice illustration that the axis of symmetry is x equals the opposite of b over 2a. The vertex takes on the x coordinate, or the value of the axis of symmetry for x. You plug it back in to solve for y. And that's what the box says. It's good to have the outline because you don't have to copy that. Moving on. Hey, I'm not going to do this problem because we just did this. We found those things so that we could graph it. It's the same thing. But I'm going to ask you, does this open up or down? Max or min?
Max.
And a y-intercept?
Negative 3.
negative 3, or 0, negative 3?
0,
Just to be clear, this was a minimum problem, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I heard some maxes in there.
We said math.
Everyone said that.
If it opens up, it has to bottom out.
It's a min. Oh, so it's a min.
It's a min problem.
See, it's
Okay.
opposite of what you think, because minimum you would think would be the bottom. And
Hey, look at this. Maximum and minimum. It's a box. And
Oh yeah, so
puts together, if A is larger than 0, it opens up, therefore it has a minimum.
the C is the minimum.
And
Trough
if
is the minimum.
A is less than 0, it opens down. It's a maximum. Now, how is this to our advantage, or what kind of things are we going to be asked to do? It's going to say, hey, here is a quadratic. Can you state the max or min values? So this is how I want you to state this. It has a max or min value of, value of blank at blank. What do I mean by that? Has a min or max value of the y at the x. Does that kind of make sense? So, let me give you an example. What if I called this point on the graph, I'm looking at the left-hand graph there, as 2, negative 3. I would state that minimum value is, the graph has a minimum value of negative 3 at 2. Or even x equals 2 if you would like to say. You could say it has a minimum y value of negative 3, so forth. Someone, without telling us what the point is, make up a maximum sentence here. On the right-hand side, someone tell us. Maybe we can tell you what the point is. What's the vertex then? Don't tell us the vertex, just tell us it has a blank at blank, and we're going to tell you the vertex. Someone make one up. It's not that hard. Just make one up.
It has a minimum value of 3 at 4.
Okay. Now, could Jake be right by saying that for the right-hand graph?
Oh, wait. No.
No. We couldn't say that, right?
We're talking-
We are talking the right one. We're trying to come up with a situation. Come up with a situation for here. Go ahead.
3 at 4.
Okay. Max value of 3 at 4. What would that vertex be? Max value of 3 at 4. So, is it 4, 3 or 3, 4?
3, 4.
Okay, it's 4, 3. Max value of 3 at 4. X always comes first, but when we state it, we're stating it the other way. Craziness. So, the last problem before we are done for the day. Tell me the max or min value of this in the correct statement, please. Try it on your own. Up or down?
Down.
So down, so it has a
Max.
max. So right away, I could technically say max value of blank at blank. Yeah. Now, I just got to find those numbers. What do I have to find first? I got to find x. X will be on the second.
Are you talking point or?
What is it going to be on? Like, what do I need to find that x? What's that?
Opposite of b over 2a.
The opposite of b over 2a, which is called the axis of symmetry, line of symmetry. The x value is on that line of symmetry because all the vertices of all parabolae, parabolas, are always on the vertex. So, x equals opposite of b over 2a, yes? What is B?
It's negative over 12.
So it's opposite of 12 over 2 times
Negative 6.
negative 3.
No, I know.
He's working ahead. So opposite of 12 is negative 12 over the negative 6, which is 2. So guess what? It's at 2. So now I just take my function and evaluate the function for 2. Function notation. So, without having to do the whole thing, I'm just going to start doing this in my head. What's 2 squared? Times negative 3. 2 times 12. And I'm going to add 11 to it. I think we end up with
25, I'm sorry. 25.
No.
You were right the first time.
Yeah.
So, the statement that we need to say, this graph has a max value of 23 at 2. If you looked in the back of the book, they're probably just saying 23.
23.
So, what should you have? Statement with the work. Not just answer 23. Moving on. That's a no-go. Copying homework out of the back, not good. Homework! Homework is 0.3 page P13. 1, 2, 21 odds, please. Have a great day.